township we live in. I pray that you be with us tonight. Help us with our decisions. In Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Now I have a chance to check over the agenda. Motion to approve.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes. You all have a copy of the minutes from last month. Had a chance to read through them? Are there any corrections? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? County Commissioner, Mr. Bennett.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to be with you. Kind of fallish out there, isn't it? Alrighty, so lead off this evening with budgets, and I do know that your clerk is a diligent observer of the goings on at MPA, and the treasurer as well, I believe, because his day job is a much larger township. So anyways, you probably have seen the discussion in regards to what the state is looking at doing in their proposed budget, reductions to revenue sharing. And so I did print off a copy for you, highlighted, like I say, you probably are aware, but going across the board in the categories, looks like that if that budget is passed, you would be dinging about $1,906. And again, I think your clerk and treasurer are probably on top of that. So if that number does agree, but like I say, I did print that. That is the report right off the Department of Treasury site, and it shows literally by unit by unit by unit. Nothing against Mr. Klein, but it's my understanding that the thought is that they're utilizing these dollars to fully fund roads. Fortunately, you don't have money at the local level. It's kind of like you're putting a hole in the bucket. So I would suggest that, as MTA has, and for the public as well, township government, we're the ones that provide the service at the grassroots level. And I say it as a former township supervisor in a township with a pretty small budget, a couple $100,000 a year, and probably a quarter of that goes towards supporting our fire department. So any reduction at all in that revenue share is vitally important to township government. So I would suggest you reach out to our legislators and tell them how devastating that would be to township government. So also, as far as budget goes on a local level, the budget deadline for submissions for the 2026 county budget, we are on a calendar year, not a state year or the March to April year that townships are on. We are on January to December, and so all of our departments have now submitted their budgets for 2026, and any reclassification requests or requests for new employees, any capital equipment project that they would like funded, and then the making sausage takes place that we have taken balance out last year. I think we had $1 million more in requests than we had dollars in revenue coming in, and there's always someone who's going to be unhappy out of those things. We also do have 4 union contracts that will expire at the end of this year, and 2 the Sheriff's Department, 2 with our 911 or emergency telephone services or emergency communicators. And so we will have to be able to figure out how that we are going to be able to cover any cost of an increase. We also have, when we did our wage study, a built-in about 2.5% increase every year that our employees get automatically. But then because we knew that was just to get us to where we should be, we just couldn't do it all at once. We also are vitally aware that we need to give them an inflationary or cost of living increase, because we don't do that in addition to that roughly 2.5% bump we have every year over that 9-year period, that anything that we give them will be eaten up by inflation. So in order to not get right back in the same place again, we know that we have to be able to make that all work. So hopefully we will have a budget probably presented first part of November, and I will keep you in the loop reporting to you on how that goes. So a few other items. We will break ground this month on the 911 system. We will start right here in your township, out on Reed Road. So the permits have all been received and we are ready to go. The contractor is scheduled to begin work on the 22nd of September. And they will begin by clearing that site off, getting it ready, graded, all those neat things. And then they will excavate, pour the concrete foundation for the tower. Once those concrete footers are put in or supports are put in, they have to cure for 30 days before we can put the tower up on them. So they will pour those and then they will move. They will move from the Adams Township site to the Woodbridge Township site. They will repeat that process, clear and prep the site, lay out where the footers are going to go, get those footers excavated and poured, and then they will move to Litchfield. So we are hoping to have that before the real winter sets in, and that always does make construction work. Doesn't seem like it stops it completely any longer, but it certainly makes it less friendly to do. So we would like to get all that work done, and then once those foundation piers are cured, then the tower company will come in. They'll erect those towers. Big crane comes in, picks them up, just like they do out here with windmills. Pick it up in the middle, and they'll swing it up into place and be secured, and then they'll begin to rig it. They do tell us they will work on the rigging all winter long. So I guess there's no mosquitoes flying around up there during January, but the day of death air, that's something they do all the time. So, and I'm sure there's probably places in the world they put communication tower where it doesn't get much warmer than it does here in the winter time. So anyways, we are making progress. We are still looking at July of next year to have that system live. School radios are in place. We had those done before school started, but they are not operational. We hope to begin testing the system probably in February, and we wanted to have those radios not have to construct or do any disruption in those office areas during the school year. So those are in place and ready to go, and we actually have background to make that system work. Moving on to Lifeways, we had quite a bit of news coverage in regards to our lease with the space that they currently occupy out of 25 Care Drive. At our last Board of Commissioners meeting, we were presented again with a proposed 5-year new lease. Their current lease did expire at the end of March of this year, and so at this point they have simply been on a month-to-month basis with us under the same terms. We did sign a new lease, voted to sign a new lease on a 3-2 vote, and that vote did renew that lease for 5 additional years. And it did take out, there were the lease that was presented to us at a previous meeting, there were 2 5-year renewals, those were taken out. So it is a straight up 5-year lease. There is a 180-day or 6-month, no foul. We just need to move along. Either Lifeways can cancel that lease with 6 months notice, or the county can cancel that lease with 6 months notice. So that did move forward. My argument in voting against that was that we need to have a home for our district court. And we sold the building, and we've had some discussions with the owner of that building as far as extending the lease on it. We were able to come to an agreement with them for the use of the ADA bathrooms on the 2nd floor. And so we will have use of those through October of 2028 under our current lease provisions. And so they were amenable to that. However, they do have the use of that after April of next year, so they potentially could rent out space up there, and we would be sharing those bathrooms with a tenant upstairs. So we have received 2 proposals from Hillsdale Renaissance. We did ask them if they would be open to extending our lease so that Lifeways could get their new facility prepared, and they came back and gave us 2 proposals. The first was that they would sign a new 5-year lease with us for the amount of $15,000 a month. You may recall that I said a couple of months ago that commercial rates was what we were hearing. One of my fellow commissioners chastised me pretty heavily for the numbers that I mentioned here. And it looks like the numbers I mentioned here are pretty doggone close, because it's $180,000 a year for a building that we sold for a little over $300,000. So in the course of 5 years, we were signed a 5-year lease, we pay him $900,000. So that's a pretty good return on investment, 3 times what you paid for the building. However, they did offer us a second proposal. And the second proposal was they would rent us the building for $5,000 a month, or $60,000 a year, or $300,000 for 5 years, which is about what we sold the building for. However, the kicker to that was we had to pay some tribute. The owner of Hillsdale Renaissance is a big supporter of the road guide project in the city of Hillsdale, and as a condition of that lowered rent, the county would have to make a $200,000 contribution towards the road guide project for the city of Hillsdale. And that brings the total cost of that rent up to, for 5 years, to $500,000 or $100,000 here instead of $180,000. Neither of those, number one, are affordable for the county. Number two, at the end of 5 years, we still have to find a home for district court. And we would have spent either $500,000 or almost $1 million in rent with still no new home for district court. So those were the 2 proposals that were offered to us. Since that date, those were presented at our last meeting. Since that date, we have received a letter from them as well. And that letter emphasizes that if we do not sign a new agreement, which we begin on January 1, by the end of October, that the October of 2028 will become a hard date for us to move out. In other words, there will be no further extensions, that we basically, because they need to start mobilizing for working on that building, because they were going to completely gut it, turn the upstairs into apartments, the lower floor into commercial space, and so they need us out, much like we need Lifeways out of their current space in order to do those renovations on that. So in order to be able to meet those mobilization things, if we are with our current lease, unless we're willing to commit to the higher amount, then we'll definitely we have to be out by October of 2028. So now we go back to the Lifeways. We have a 6-month quit on it, right? We've been told by our architectural firm, their estimate is it will take 1 year to build out that building. And anybody who's ever done a construction project of any kind knows that, well, the contractor tells you it'll take me 2 weeks to do this project, it's never 2 weeks, right? There's always material shortages, something comes up, didn't get the right stuff, something was damaged. So we figured we really need 15 months. So if you take 6 months and 15 months, you end up with about 21 months. And so that means that if we are going to be able to move into that building by October of 2028, we need almost 2 years lead time from that we tell Lifeways they need to be out. So what that translates to is that we are going to have to make a decision no later than midpoint of next year of whether we are going to exercise our 6-month you have to get out clause in the new lease that we just signed with Lifeways, or we're going to have to drop back and punt. And you may recall we spent $130,000 on architectural drawings for 25 Pier Drive. So I'm sure tomorrow there will be additional lively discussion. I can tell you that I'm still committed that we will continue to move forward with 25 Pier Drive. It's not the cheapest way we could have done it. We sold the cheapest way, which was the building that we owned. We probably would have put $1 million in. We're probably going to have to put $3 million into 25 Pier Drive. But our other options would be buy a new building, or build a new building, or add additions onto the courthouse. And none of those things are within the realms of financial possibilities. So, as I've said before, stay tuned. You may have heard that we did dispense some opioid settlement monies to our local chapter of the Civil Air Patrol. That was in the amount of $36,500. I did vote against that proposal. Just simply not that the Civil Air Patrol is an unworthy organization, but we have a whole bunch of other organizations around that $36,000 would probably do a whole lot of good for, whether that's 4-H, or the Boy Scouts, or the Girl Scouts, FFA, all who do really, really great work with young people and help them build mindsets and lifestyles and resiliency. That the whole idea behind it is that they would, as they move towards adulthood, be much more resistant to substance use disorder. And so consequently, I did vote against that. However, again, that passed on a 3-2 vote. And so my message simply to all of you is, if you do know of an organization, our opioid committee seems interested in funding youth and activities that might build that kind of resiliency. And so if you do know of an organization that might be benefiting of some of those dollars, I would encourage you to speak with them and to reach out to our opioid committee for the application on that and submit something and try to receive some of those funds. And that concludes my report for the evening, unless you have questions for me.
Anybody have a question for Mr. Ben?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Commissioner. About a month ago, a representative of the judges, being one of the judges, Megan Stiverson from District Court, came and expressed dissatisfaction with, at that time, how things were going, and made the commissioners aware that there could be a possibility of a lawsuit from them. If that were to happen, we the people get to pay for both the suit and the defense, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Do you believe that your present negotiations would satisfy them, or could a suit be forthcoming?
I think that we need to get a plan, which we need to be absolutely committed to a location where we're going to move the court. We seemingly have done that because we've invested a lot of money in architectural and engineering drawings towards that building. So, but we had a resolution before the Board of Commissioners that simply stated that we were committed that was where our to-be court was going to go. And that resolution did fail. So it failed on a 2 in favor of and 3 opposed to vote. So I think the real key to preventing that lawsuit is sooner rather than later that we become committed to a location for the court and a plan of how we're going to get them there, and also a timetable on how to get them there. So beyond that, it really is, I can't speak for the judges. So at what point they feel that they've exhausted all of their appeals, all of their options, and they need to take other ways of trying to make that happen, that is really on them. So again, as you well know, we have a separation of powers in government, whether it's federal government, state government, or local government. They are the judicial branch, we are the legislative branch of government, and so consequently that the judges will do what the judges will do.
Follow-up question, though, quickly. It is true, though, that the commissioners are responsible for providing a building for housing the courts for the judges?
That is correct. We have to have a location for the court, and we have to. There's actually a lawsuit that originated in Hillsdale County, went to the Michigan Supreme Court. It's to-be court, the Hillsdale County Board of Commissioners, and I believe it was back in the 1970s. It's not too difficult to find. Basically, the provision that said that we have to fund courts, we counties have to fund courts at an adequate level. However, it does not define what adequate is. So one person's definition of adequate might be somewhat different of another person's adequate. So, but yes, we do have a responsibility to fund a place for our courts.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Yes. And this is going backwards, but why did we sell that building with no place to go?
I voted against selling it, so You know,
Why
they,
did they sell it? No place to go.
so this is what we were told. Our facilities manager came to the board of commissioners and said, the building was gonna cost $1 million in repairs, didn't it? Okay? And we were led to believe, and I was gone from the board of commissioners when this occurred, okay? So, but the board of commissioners was led to believe that we could remodel space in the historic courthouse and be able to put all 3 courts into that building, having moved the county offices, many of them over to the county office building. So, however, they didn't do 2 things. Number one, they didn't talk to anybody as far as a court designer, whether or not that can happen or not. In other words, what the needs were for a modern court facility.
Well, who hired the guy to tell you all this?
Well, the guy that told us is our facilities manager, that the building needed $1 million worth of work, and he also said that we could move a wall inside the historic courthouse to build a space large enough for a courtroom. However, he is not an architect. After I came back, because we were still discussing that, we had not sold the second district court building at that point. We were still discussing that. So I said, you know, it might be a kind of a good idea before we start taking out a 2-foot thick wall in a 100-year-old building. We actually asked somebody who went to architect school whether or not that might be a good idea. And we did. We hired a firm out of Adrian, paid them, I don't know, $35,000 or $40,000. They did a really nice report for us. And that report basically said, well, it is possible to remove the wall that our facilities director wanted to remove. It would require taking and putting footers down the basement, putting steel beams up that would then support the dome of the courthouse. And then, after that was all done, then we could consider taking out the wall. But basically, he concluded his report with, but I wouldn't do that. So we found out from somebody who actually went to engineering and architect school, we couldn't take out the wall. And then we asked Nathan Hall, we actually got a grant from the National Association of State Courts and hired their architect to do a space needs study. And he came back and he said the historic courthouse was unsuitable in its current configuration to place all 3 courts in. And he returned 2 proposals. One was to add a 15,000 square foot addition to that building. And so at current construction costs, it's about $1,000 a square foot for new construction. So that would be $15 million. Or if we were to consolidate all the court functions, so friend of the court, which is out on Fair Drive in the health department building, and add an additional hearing room, and basically the Cadillac plan. If we had done that, that would be a 30,000 square foot addition to the building, and that would be $30 million. Now, part of all of that is because in modern court facilities, you're not supposed to mingle the judges and the court staff and the public and the people who are charged with criminal offenses. So you have to have a separate holding area for people who are coming before the court on criminal matters, and it requires a multi-story building, an elevator, a secured elevator, plus a sally port and some holding cells. We have the existing elevator right now, which the public can use, but then we would have to have an additional entrance and an additional elevator for the judges. And so to do that, in additional spaces, that the absolute minimum we would have spent to do that was $15 million. But by that point, we had already sold the district court.
Yeah, but that's what we don't understand, is the public. Why would you sell it before you had any place to go?
You know, and I would simply say, you would need to ask, you know, Commissioner Ingalls, Commissioner Leininger, and former Commissioner Langus, because those are the 3 people who voted to sell that building. Commissioner Wiley and I voted in opposition to it. You know, and I will always go that the building that you own is probably the cheapest building to be able to renovate. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm going to take my leave and run to ransom. Thank you for your lengthy report. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Take care. All right, moving on. This Mr. Klein.
Thank you for having me. We've got, 2024 projects to complete, and I believe one or two of them is in Adams Township, Bird Lake, Nichols, and Blackbridge. And they've been doing tree removal and ditching. The tree removal was for the county crews, and the gravel will be laid on these roads in the spring of '26. County motor grader was in the township today, and followed by trucks, so they're grading the gravels, and the brine should be applied shortly thereafter. They've already got Fayette done, and they were in Camden, Reading, and Litchfield townships. Brush spraying is started in the northeast quadrant, which would be Somerset Township. And the good news is, it's taken 4 years, but Eagle approved the bridge replacement in Elm Road on Pittsburgh Township. And we did get word that we could get a culvert, so we're gonna try to get that done immediately, before they change their mind. But it did take 4 years. The tree trimming and stump removal that was, or tree removal that was done by a contractor, he's done. And we'll probably discuss at our meeting this coming Thursday, if we have enough money in the budget to have them come back, because they did a lot of good work for us. And here's one that isn't in Adams Township. This is Lake Pleasant to Tamarack Road to 99. We're gonna pulverize that and return it to gravel, because Ransom Township doesn't have the money to repave it. So we're gonna spread gravel right on top of the pavement and have the pulverizing machine come in and pulverize it all together and make a gravel road back out of it. And with that's about all I've got to report, unless anybody's got a question or anything.
Yes, when you go in and pulverize the paved road, turn it back to gravel, what happens to the property tax? They're being taxed on a paved road, right?
Well, that wouldn't have anything to do with road condition.
No, I'm just asking because that would seem like that would make a difference
I
in
would
people's
think that
property
the
tax.
assessor should look at that and change the assessment, because you do pay more of an assessment for having
Paved road.
frontage on a paved road, which I have argued with our assessor many times.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Klein, Mr. Road Commissioner. You mentioned 3 in in Adams Township. You mentioned Peterson, that would be half in,
No,
but
I didn't mention Peterson. I mentioned Bird Lake, Nichols, and Blackbridge.
Blackbridge, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Blackbridge depends on where it's at, if it's in
Yes.
Adams or not, and those other 2 wouldn't be. Nichols and Bird Lake is in Jefferson.
No, Bird Lake.
Not all Bird Lake.
No, but Nichols Road is.
Yeah.
You said Nichols and Bird Lake.
Yeah.
Oh, so 3 different roads. I
They're
stand
3
corrected.
different roads.
Okay,
They're under 3 different contracts,
okay.
and they were started in 2024 and were completed. We will not have the gravel laid on those roads till next year,
Okay.
this coming spring.
So, do you know where on Bird Lake or Blackbridge those are?
Well, on Bird Lake, I believe it's the north end, it's in Adams Township.
Okay, north of Bacon?
Blackbridge is in Jefferson Township, and then Nichols would be in.
Jefferson.
So actually, only Bird Lake
Okay.
is in Adams Township.
Thank you for that clarification.
But these were projects that were started in 2024, and for whatever reason, they won't be completed fully until '26. Anybody else got any questions? Thank you.
Thanks. Public comment. Remember 3 minutes. Keep it friendly. Don't comment amongst yourselves. Who's gonna be first? Yes.
Yeah, in my notes, on the July 14th meeting under new business, there was mention of a website being developed. Have some notes, 1 to 2 months for details, some setup costs. There was a motion to move forward. I don't see it on the agenda. Will it be
Old business, I don't see it.
Yeah.
New business, planning commission. In reference to the planning commission, I have a resignation from Rosalind Cohen. And I would read it with your permission. To whom it may concern, I, Rosalind Cohen, must respectfully resign from the positions of secretary for the planning commission of North Adams Township. My thanks for the opportunity to serve our community. I am no longer able to perform the duties of office this position. I am currently working in 2 full-time job/engagements. Again, thank you for the amazing opportunity, Mrs. Rosalind Coleman. So with that, I would entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Rosalind Coleman from the Planning Commission Board. Motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's with deep regret that we accept it. Okay, treasurer's notes.
My first note was, the board approved the cost wise, and so hopefully next few weeks, after I get some, like the history of the township, I'm gonna go to the library, get some history, like the basic history of the township, and get some, either the rest of our, board minutes, board dates, for the rest of the year, calendar year to them, and some, small stuff there, and then they have it ready to go almost, but they're just asking me for some other small details, the next week to get to them, and then hopefully it'll be out. It's gonna be a basic one with a picture of the township outside, links maybe to the county's website, and so I mean, as things progress and people want different things of links to the county, wherever it may be, that's what we're hoping to do is just put some links and stuff on there, and our basic production will be on there going forward, and so forth there. So hopefully by next October board meeting, I can say, yeah, here it is, and here's the website, why it's kind of stuff there, so. I'm gonna try, hopefully October, but by the board meeting in October, I can say, yeah, here's the website and so forth there, so it's gonna be a pretty basic website, with the, just the basic, what we have on there, so.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, I got my, further notes, investment stuff on here also, before I didn't play up.
Motion to accept treasurer's report.
I move to accept it. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills. You have a copy of the bills before you. Entertain a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $4,241.14.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Cemetery bills. Cemetery bills are in the amount of $3,086.66. I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills.
I'll motion. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Bills are paid. Clerk notes.
On the ongoing saga with the 2021 IRS statements that were gone in. I finally came in really early, got a hold of the IRS. Got a really nice lady. The problem is that only the first quarter, at that time, in 2021, there were 3 pages. Okay? When I had gotten them, because they weren't there, I contacted the, our auditor, way back when I was first going through the payroll files. And she sent me copies. Well, I had sent them what I had. What I had was 2 pages instead of the 3. That was changed in, I want to say the second quarter in 2023. They went to 2 pages. So I got a nice lady. She showed me how to get the forms off of the computer for 2021. So those are filled out. The last 3 have all been sent in. So hopefully that ends with that.
Good. Okay, supervisor notes. We don't have any. I had something in mind.
What are the ones that you gave him?
Which one?
I don't know the permits.
Oh, I gave him a stack of compliance permits. We have done this year. We're doing very well in construction in the township. A lot of people are building barns, garages, remods, decks. Lake Bell area seems to be a very popular spot for remods right now. So the township's looking pretty good as far as expansion. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Shattuck has offered to make the township board picture IDs. So before we leave today, we need to let him take that picture. And then he will make IDs for the township so that wherever we go, if we represent the township, we will have an ID to provide that shows that we are township official. And therefore, it can't be anybody else going out there and saying that they are. Okay? So I appreciate it before you go that we get that done. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Public comment again. Remember, 3 minutes. Respectful. Not amongst yourselves. Who's first? Hearing none.